All right. All right. Take, I don't know, 3. Try it again. Good morning, everybody. I'm going to sing first and then I'll talk to you a little bit. Here it comes. Big red sunball rising. Hail, hail to the morning. Let the song of joy awaken the sleeping land. Through the shadows dawn comes streaming. The early birds begin their singing, and the dew upon the webs of light quivers cool and sweet. Son, I pray, let my life begin today. I promise I will go with beauty round me. Dark nights and cloudy sorrows return at last to the sunny skies of love. Troubled dreams fold your wings and vanish. All the fears fade and pass. You told your heart there is no answer. Lies cannot hide. Time is a gift, receive it grateful. Son, I pray, let my life begin today. I promise I will go with beauty round me. Dark nights and cloudy sorrows return at last to the sunny skies of love. Here it comes, big red sunball rising. Hail, hail to the morning. Let the song of joy awaken the sleeping land. Through the shadows dawn comes streaming. The early birds begin their singing, and the dew upon the webs of light quivers cool and sweet. Son, I pray, let my life begin today. I promise I will go with beauty round me. Dark nights and cloudy sorrows return at last to the sunny skies of love. I feel relaxed. Good morning, everybody. I am Aubrey Atwater, and I am broadcasting live from the John C. Campbell Folk School here in Brasstown, North Carolina. One of my favorite places to come and teach and perform, and a very beloved place to many people. And I am thrilled and honored to be here this week teaching a course called Playing, Singing, and Dancing Appalachian Style to some very advanced students who are multi-instrumentalists, singers, songwriters, and performers. They've all toured internationally, so we're having a fabulous time. And I love that I know a song called Morningsong, and that song is written by a friend of mine, Daniel Dutton, who lives at the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains in Somerset, Kentucky. And he wrote that song partly to honor the Native American tradition of singing in the morning. And in the 95-year history here at the John C. Campbell Folk School, we have always had Morningsong. I've been coming here for over 25 years, and this is one of my favorite programs to do in my whole long career, Morningsong. And it is definitely the earliest gig I ever do, I think. All right, so onward and upward, another song. Now, my area of expertise is Appalachian folk music, but Guess what? Some of you know that I am a lifelong Rhode Island resident, so that's kind of a long story why I know so much about things Appalachian. Part of it has to do with some family history in West Virginia. But I want to play you a song that comes from Rhode Island. So I'll play you a little bit of everything. This one is called, I'm going to move back, I think, to make sure you can see my head. This was written over 100 years ago, and it's called the Block Island Song. And if you've ever been to Rhode Island, you know that Block Island is the biggest island in Rhode Island, and it takes about an hour to go by boat or a short plane ride to get there. And I'm playing the American Mountain Dulcimer. I love that song. I think it's very peaceful. And it's very wave-like, too. It feels just like its subject matter. I want to play you a song that I wrote many years ago. One of the 3 programs happening this week is weaving. And this is a song about a young mother who has an absolute passion for weaving. And she's always trying to fit in creative time. Almost to the point of chaos, and you'll see what I mean. It's got a slight edge to it, the story. Called She Sits at Her Loom and She Weaves. I have a frog in my throat in the morning. In the quiet of the cellar, in the farthest of rooms, she sits at her loom and she weaves. The mold and the laundry, they mingle a scent as she sits at her loom and she weaves. Above and around and voices as she weeps. The cotton, the linen, the wool and the silk, the feel to her fingers as she weaves. Blue, red, green and brown, deep lavender and yellow, the look to her eyes as she weaves. The littlest is crying, the others are fighting. She hopes they can manage as she weaves. Big pot on the stove needs the burner turned low. The children need rides and she weaves. She winds up the warp and covers the loom, shuts the door, turns around, and she leaves. As she climbs up the stairs, she thinks wool, she thinks color, she can't wait to come back to weave. In the quiet of the cellar, in the farthest of rooms, that's where you might find her, as she sits at her loom, and she weaves. So I've been fortunate enough to have been traveling for many, many years. I've been playing folk music for 42 years. And I'm old enough that I've hung out with what some people call primary sources or source singers, source musicians. Some of the real old folks that grew up in the tradition, somewhat unself-consciously, with lives where the music and the dance and the songs were woven into daily life. And Jean Ritchie was one of those source singers. She was alive from 1922 to 2015. And I knew her for the last 23 years of her life and spent a great deal of time around her and with her in those years. Not specifically studying in a real scholarly way, but a lot of hanging out and appearing together at a particular event once a year, for example, for a week called Appalachian Family Folk Week at the Hindman Settlement School in Hindman, Kentucky. So some of these other centers I work at, like the Hindman Settlement School or the Ozark Folk Center in Arkansas, Berea College in Berea, Kentucky, they're all interconnected historically with the John C. Campbell Folk School. When Jean was a teenager in the 1930s, she would come here to the folk school because her sister, May, married Leon Deschamps, and he was the Belgian stonemason who, among other things, built some of the buildings here. I don't know. No, I was going to say maybe he built the fireplace behind me, but no, I remember when this building was built, so, and I'm not that old. So here is a Ritchie family song called Pretty Sarah. Darcy, you might want to take a peek at that screen. I think it's saying something about the battery. So that's a Ritchie family song. They were known as the singing family of the Cumberland Mountains of eastern Kentucky. And they started to have a connection here to the folk school in the 1930s. And Gene and the other Ritchie members, they brought the dulcimer here to this part of Appalachia. And I was playing an old-fashioned technique, the original technique of this approximately 200-year-old instrument, with a stick, a noter stick, playing on the melody string only and letting those other strings drone. And the dulcimer has German roots, German immigrant roots, and that song is clearly a Scots-Irish song, a great reminder of the Celtic roots of American folk music. That guy who loved Pretty Sarah, he was probably an indentured servant, and he was not allowed to marry her. A lot of these old folk songs are about boundaries in society and either crossing them or being prevented from doing certain things because of those boundaries and obstacles. So he doesn't get to be with her, and he pines for her all of his life. He pines and pines and pines. And they have counseling and therapy for that now, but back a few hundred years ago, a song was a good idea to cope with those feelings. So speaking of roots, the Appalachian traditional music has a bunch of strands that are beautiful aspects of American history. And the banjo is African American. Those complex rhythms, sometimes call response singing that you hear in American folk music are retentions from African musical traditions. So I'm going to play you a new version of Old Joe Clark, lyrics written by Darrell Scott, and it tells the story of the banjo as a slave instrument. And I'm going to do a bunch of things at once. Play clawhammer style. You probably might have noticed I have some fascinating shoes on. I'm going to do a little bit of French-Canadian footwork while I do this. That's fun. Whenever I get my feet going, whether it's with the sitting down foot percussion or the standing up clogging, which I will do shortly, all kinds of technical things happen. Sometimes the camera jiggles and things like that. Okay, I got 5 more minutes, and I'm gonna just show you a little bit of these lumberjacks, dancing wooden puppets that are considered to be percussion instruments. There was an old woman and she had a little pig. There was an old woman and she had a little pig. There was an old woman and she had a little pig. Didn't cost much because it wasn't very big. I'll play you a couple of these. How about the chicken? My old hen's a good old hen. She lays eggs for the railroad men. Sometimes 1, sometimes 10. That's enough for the railroad men. Pluck old hen, pluck and squall. You ain't laid an egg since way last fall. Pluck old hen, pluck and sing. You ain't laid an egg since way last spring. And very silly lady that we got at a festival. My husband and I got at a festival many years ago in Pennsylvania. She's a little worn out, you could say. She's been traveling in our van for many years. Now this old woman kept the pig in the barn. Now this old woman kept the pig in the barn. Now this old woman kept the pig in the barn. Prettiest little thing she had on the farm. So those are the lumberjacks, and those are very fun. You could say, oh, those are for kids, but they're for everybody. All right, I'm going to do a little bit of dancing for you, and you're not going to totally see my face or my head. I might get up close so you can see my feet. That's kind of fun. This is what people tend to call flat foot clogging. How's that? Does that do going okay? And this dance form has elements of Native American, we're calling this step the Cherokee, for example, and African, Irish and Scottish steps, and there's some influence of German and French Western Europe in this style of dancing, but I would say it's mostly Celtic African. And I've been dancing for years. I learned my first steps at the Hindman Settlement School in Hindman, Kentucky. And in all my decades of travel, I've asked people to show me steps from place to place. I learned these steps in Rasstown, like this one and this one. So that's kind of fun. I learned this one in Arkansas. Everybody do this at home. Do the other side. And my standard joke is now do both at once. I'm going to play a little tune while we do this. A little reprise of Old Joe Clark. Okay, my head's back. Thank you for joining me, everybody. Thanks to Darcy and Heather for figuring out that tech. It's not easy. Remember the tip jar. There's a way to donate to the John C. Campbell Folk School, and you can do it with that tip jar link that I assume you can see. So, good morning to you all, and hope to see you again soon.